You're listening to the StudioPTBO podcast, where we talk all things marketing to help you build and grow your business online. Welcome to the latest episode. And welcome to another episode of the StudioPTBO podcast. We are back, and we're back at it again with another guest. Man, I'm excited to chat about mindset, business. Really, we're on a mission to help passionate, energetic entrepreneurs with marketing and mindset knowledge to help them build, grow, and scale their business in the online space. And who better to have on the show than David Meltzer? Before we introduce David Meltzer, Neil Morden, how are you doing, man? It's been a while since we did a podcast together. So, this is going to be fun.
Yeah, I'm doing excellent, Cody May. And I am full of gratitude today for this guest, who is a wonderful person. And I consider him a mentor, and we've never even met. But that's the beautiful part of mentorship in life. And he distills great advice to entrepreneurs and life hacks around the world about how to be a good person. And David, we're super grateful to have you on the show today. Thanks for doing this.
I'm super excited to be here. Exactly. Same sentiment. I'm so excited because you guys are aligned with what I'm trying to do, which is empower over 1 billion people on earth just to simply be happy, to create a collective consciousness of abundance and happiness.
Amazing. So David, I'm going to give a quick backstory or synopsis. He's done a lot with his life so far. So he's currently co-founder of Sports One Marketing. He's a speaker. He's an entrepreneur. He's an author. He is well known. He was CEO of the Lee Steinberg agency, a famous agency, which was the inspiration for the movie Jerry Maguire. I think he gave the line, "Show me the money," to Lee Steinberg. Have you ever taken credit for that?
No, I do the opposite. I use Lee Steinberg as a trivia question because, they play that which one's not true. And everyone thinks the movie's like off of me. And so I always include, Lee Steinberg. Jerry Maguire was made after Dave Meltzer. And then I'll say LeBron James was born in Steph Curry at the same hospital. And I was CEO of the world's first smartphone. And everybody chooses one or the other two. And I'm like, no, the movie was done about Lee Steinberg, not Dave Meltzer.
Close enough. But man,
I was CEO of the company. I was CEO of the company. And it's a great honor to be mentored by Lee Steinberg, by the way.
Yeah, talk about a piece of pop culture, and we're going to dive into that later. And so David, you are actually co-founder of Sports One Marketing with Warren Moon, who is a great Hall of Famer, CFL legend. I have to tell you this quick anecdote: 1982 Grey Cup game, Edmonton Oilers against the Toronto Argonauts. Warren Moon going for his 5th straight title. I am in the stands. It is a rainbow. It is freezing rain. And I don't know if Warren Moon's ever referenced this to you. 1982 at Exhibition Stadium in Toronto. He won his 5th grade title. But man, it was pure and utter misery being in the stands that day. I don't know what it was like for Warren, but yeah, it was bad.
He always says, thank God he won, right? He said it would have been the most miserable day of his life if he didn't win. But the win takes care of all the frozen fingers that he had.
Yeah, crazy time. And but I again grateful to be there to see Warren. He's full of resilience too, and he must be a great co-founder for you. So David, give us a little bit of your backstory. So you grew up in the same town, I'm going to call it town, as LeBron James, and give us a bit of your backstory growing up and what that was like with 5 siblings.
Yeah, it was tremendous. Super happy. I learned about the quantum nature that I had. I call it the happiness gene, because as I look back, realizing I grew up with 6 kids, a single mom. My dad left when I was 5. She worked 2 jobs, packed our dinner in a paper bag in a Country Squire station wagon to fill up turnstiles at the 7-Eleven with greeting cards after she taught 2nd grade, to feed 6 kids, 5 boys and a girl. And yet I look back and I always thought I was super happy, except for one thing, financial stresses and financial grief. And so my life from the time I was 5, the time my dad left, was based on one thing. I was going to be rich. I wanted to be rich, to buy my mom a house and a car, because that was the only time I wasn't happy. It was when we had financial problems. So I lived my life that money would buy me happiness, money would buy me love. And ironically, I lived that life to a point where everything in my life reaffirmed that, all the way through working with Lee Steinberg Sports and Entertainment, the most notable sports agency in the world, being the CEO of the first smartphone company, to working in the Silicon Valley, to making $1 million 9 months out of law school, including marrying my dream girl who hated me in elementary, junior high, and high school. She hated me. So almost every single thing in my life reaffirmed that money bought love and happiness. But you know, when you have all those well-developed plans, it's guaranteed to make God laugh at you and teach you a real lesson. So I was in store for a great $100 million lesson, which brought humility and clarity and awareness into my life.
I really, you know, I was listening to one of your podcasts on the Playbook a little while ago, and you just kind of delved really in depth into failure and, you know, kind of how you overcome failure. And, you know, first off, I just love the podcast. Second off, you know, like you just have such a keen understanding of what it takes to, you know, shift beliefs and have mindset. I'm really curious to know specifically, like, you know, and I was listening to one of your podcasts the other day, and you kind of delved a little bit into, you know, the failures that you had in the past, you know, like the bankruptcy, and like you've gone through a lot, and you've seen like highs and lows, especially with what we're going through right now, just like even as an economy. But you know, entrepreneurs, I feel like they're just facing so much turmoil, and there's a lot of good happening in the world, but there's a lot to just balance, you know. And I guess, like, what advice would you have in regards to tactics around mindset that, like, you know, when you as an entrepreneur, you fail, like, how did you pick yourself up? Like, you know, you delved a little bit into it, but I'm like curious, like, what were 3 to 5 tactics that actually got you through the turmoil that you faced to actually get you to where you are now? Like, when you fall that far, like, how do you pick yourself back up?
Yeah, when I grow that much, I hate that term, fall so far. When you grow that much exponentially and accelerated. So there's 5 daily practices that I instituted based off of 4 values. And the 4 values are gratitude, which gives you perspective, find the light, love, and lesson in everything. 2, forgiveness will give you peace, allowing you to expand, accelerate, and grow, to learn the lessons, right? So giving you peace in your life, no matter what external factors are occurring. 3, accountability, gives you control of your life, which is essential when it's chaotic in the world. You have complete control by asking yourself 2 questions. What did I do to attract this to myself, and what am I supposed to learn? And then really understanding the paradigm shift of inspiration. People get confused about motivation, which is important. It'll get you up, get you back up, get you started, get you back started. But inspiration will get you there. Understanding your connection between the greatest source of light, love, and lessons, allowing it to come through you with appreciation, forgiveness, accountability, and inspiration to others. We're connected to everything and everyone in this abundant universe. So what are those 5 daily practices? Number 1, take inventory of your values. You have personal values, experiential values, giving values, and receiving values, all weighted differently every day. Don't be afraid of being a hypocrite. You can change your mind, change your values, and change yourself. Don't be afraid. I love hypocrites. I love people that say, shit, 5 years ago, I didn't know what I didn't know. I'm a whole different person. I have different values because I've grown, accelerated, and learned. I have compound interest in my life, and I'm filling my vacuum with what I want, not what other people want for me or what I don't want, because I'm learning, making mistakes, and I'm living my life with these values. So understand that you need to take inventory every single day. Weigh your values differently. They don't have to be balanced at the end of the life. Let them be balanced 25, 25, 25, and 25. But right now, try your best to enjoy the consistent, persistent pursuit of your potential by taking inventory of who you are, right? And that will lead to the capabilities that you have, the skills that you have, the knowledge, what and who, the knowledge of, you know, and 3, the desire that you have. That must be what you can be attitude. And if you can align through taking inventory of your values and understanding your capabilities, you align your skills, knowledge, and desire with what's doing well today to find what's supplementary and synergistic to what's doing well today, what's stable today, and what you think may recover in an emotional aspect, what's oversold today. You can actually find the margins of millionaires, find when to buy low and sell high, find where you can align what you're doing today with what's doing best today. And I'm actually doing a free training on Friday. I've done it for 20 years on the margins of millionaires, buying low and selling high. And that's my first piece of advice is take inventory of your values. Second, real quick, ask and attract. Most people ask how they can be of service or value, but they don't ask the more critical, humble question. Do you know anyone that can help me? In person, on the phone, via email, social media, radio, print, TV. Ask every single day. Most people know at least 1,000 people. You got to ask, do you know anybody that can help me? And you got to know what you want according to your values to do so. Third, study. What does study mean? Study means pay attention to, give intention to, the coincidences you want in your life. It's the mathematical equation of luck. Study your calendar, what activity you have planned, what activity you don't have planned, the empty space, and your sleep. Do it with a lens of productivity, of how much value you can provide, a lens of accessibility, how accessible am I to others, and how am I accessing and receiving what I want, and most importantly, a lens of gratitude. Find the light, the love, and the lessons. Pain's just an indicator, right? It's not a stop sign. It's an indicator. It's a turn signal telling you to go in a better direction, to a better situation, to make things better. 4, do it now, right? 100% of the things you do now get done. The difference between people that are successful and those others is 100% of the people get the stuff done are successful. Yeah. So ask yourself, can I do it now? If not, do it. And then last, and we can talk about it in more detail, practice ending fear. Those are the 5 daily activities that will take you to a next level, allow you, no matter what the external circumstances are. Look, this compressed time of uncertainty is BS. There's always uncertainty. In fact, anybody out there listening, I know you guys have a huge audience. Anybody out there listening, if you know what's going to happen tomorrow, email me at david@dmeltzer.com, because we'll make billions of dollars and I'll share it with everybody. But if you absolutely know what's going to happen tomorrow, david@dmeltzer.com. So if you don't, then don't tell me that we're in these compressed times of uncertainty. Everything's so uncertain today. Are you kidding me? I've never met one person that can tell me what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah, I love the confidence you have and the radical clarity and the mention to, you know, it's okay to change your mind. And, you know, a lot of entrepreneurs think that's not okay, but sometimes you do have to pivot, right, and innovate and sort of move with the times and not admit you're wrong, but just admit that you need to try new things. So I love that. Now, David, mentoring, I want to hear from mentoring. You've said before you need sort of 3 mentors at a time. And I want to hear your lens on mentoring and networking, because for Cody and I, that's been a game changer, whether that's online coaches. You know, you're a mentor to me, and I don't hardly even know you, but I feel like you're my best friend. So walk us through what mentors you've had in life and what that means to you, mentoring and networking.
Yeah, sure. And like to add to that is like, you know, what does seeking new information mean to you? If I could just add to that, because, and I really hope that everyone listening to this before David gives us answer, taking some notes. Like I'm taking notes right now because, like, you know, those 5 things. Like, you know, anyone listening to this, I highly encourage you to take some notes because this is good stuff.
Right on. So, you know, to that end, and I'm losing my train of thought for a second because we went to 2 different things. The first thing was, give me real quick because you gave me the second question.
Mentoring and networking.
Yeah. So I wanted to tell you first what caught my mind off guard was, remember this word, everybody, minimum, right? So people tell me, you want to empower 1 billion people, you should have 3 mentors. No. Don't limit yourself with anything. Add the word minimum to any man-made construct, time of how long you want something to happen or amounts. Add the word minimum. It opens up the fact that you live between limitlessness and infinity. You just live for an instant. It'll allow you to implement rule number 6, not to take yourself so seriously. Now, the fastest way to get what you want, and this was how I lost everything, over $100 million, golf course, ski mountain properties, is that I never asked for help. And so what I've learned to do is to institute radical humility, to find the people that have what I want. In other words, they sit in a situation that I want to be in. They have the knowledge I want. They have the property I want. They have something that I want. And what I do is I ask them for it. And if they won't give it to me, I ask them how to get it and have them teach it. And I am very aggressive about being more interested than interesting, to asking the extra questions, to being completely humble and saying, do you know anyone that can help me? You know, I'm looking for this. Oh, I can help you. Or I know someone that can help you. Everybody is not a gatekeeper. We're all connected. A tree has no branches. One branch would not go to war against another branch in a tree. It's the same thing here on Earth. People create resistance, voids, and shortages by thinking people are trying to stop me from getting what I want. They're not. There's only 2 types of people on Earth to me: sponsor and power sponsor. Meaning a sponsor is someone that knows someone that can help me and have what I want. And a power sponsor is someone that not only knows people that can help me and have what I want, but they have what I want and they're willing to help me. Stop trying to create illusions of this resistance that doesn't exist. You need to spend your time finding the people that have what you want and ask them for it, or ask them to teach you how to get it. Why should you have to pay the dummy tax? You're already gonna have to pay federal and state tax in most of the states. So why would you want to pay the most expensive tax that exists, the one that cost me over $100 million, called the dummy tax? Why don't you allow others to pay it for you?
So, you know, we chat about mentors, and like, you know, this is something that has kind of come up a lot within our community. It's come up a lot, you know, through just interviewing entrepreneurs. So I'm really curious, like, you know, when you seek out to find a mentor, like, you know, you talk a lot about about, you know, finding new information and, you know, changing beliefs and all this stuff. So I'm curious, like, how do you retain the information, that all this information that you're receiving? You know, they say the average CEO reads 52 books a year. How do you retain the information, but then implement it? Like, what do you have any tactics that you've seen really work in your own life that has gotten you to where you want to go personally and professionally?
I got to give you credit. I do thousands of interviews, and that is an extraordinary question. That question right there gives great detail and insight that you get what's going on, because at the forefront of all this, the basis is that rule number 6. Number 1, don't take yourself so seriously. 2, you don't know what you don't know. And 3, don't trust your senses or your memory, because they suck. Your eyes, your nose, your mouth, your ears, and your touch are not consistent with anybody else, and they suck. They don't really tell you the information as it truly is, or your potential as it truly is. And your memory even sucks worse. So I actually have one repository that helps me with all of it. And it's a practice. And I, you know, kick myself sometimes because I don't always do it, even though we have way more mechanisms. It's called lessons and stories. So I create a repository of lessons and stories through my life. So I'm on this right now. You guys, I think, know I have people taking notes right now, and they're keying off the lessons and stories that either I'm sharing that I may not remember because I've channeled it. It's not coming from me, it's coming through me, or one that you guys have told here. And so I create this huge repository. I come from a search engine background. So I made my original money with Westlaw, which basically took billions of data points for, you know, state, federal laws, statutes, secondary materials by West Publishing, the biggest legal publisher in the world. And they had Boolean language searching. So I've always come from that. So I've always transcribed every interview, every podcast, everything. And I created my own search engine so that eventually I'm going to be launching this. You know, somebody asks me a question, I'm just going to either Google the question from Dave Meltzer videos and send you a video to explain it, or send you the search engine and allow you to search the videos for what you want to learn about David Meltzer. But the key to that question, you know, is really understanding to be more interested than interesting in what you're doing, right? To be able to look at the nuances. And I don't know what's going on in my head. Give me a quick. I know this is off, but I got into that tangent. You got to give me that question one more time, because I want to get to one point that I forgot.
So when we see,
it shows you how stupid I am. The repository of lessons and stories. Oh yeah. So lessons and stories. Sorry, I got it back. So lessons and stories. Listen to me, everyone. You have a cell phone. You have email. I have friends, and they're like, why the heck did you send me this thing about, you know, don't live by pretending, you know, the pieces equal the whole? Why would you send me that? Well, you know why? Because you're the first text person on my phone, and I didn't want to not get the lesson recorded. So when I text somebody, it also shows on my phone. So I now reposit the lesson and story without losing it. And sometimes I just don't have time to, you know, pick my assistant out, or, you know, the phones get slow when you have a lot of people. So I'll just choose the last person that texted me, and they get this quirky message about some lesson and story. You know, it's like, oh, you know, just because someone loves you doesn't mean they give you good advice. Mom's story. And they're like, why'd you text me this, dude? But then it's like a double reminder to go put that into the actual repository so that can be searched someday. I can tie in videos and lessons and speeches and interviews all to the same topics. It's so important. Life is just about lessons. Here's the key, the secret sauce. Life is about lessons. The lessons will keep on coming until you learn them, right? Go back to Sanskrit. It literally is written in the first 12 laws that were ever written down. Life, you're given a body. Life is about lessons. The lessons will keep on coming till you learn it. They'll result in pain as an indicator, a turn signal, if you haven't learned the lesson, which is an indicator. Mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, and financial pain is not a stop sign. Don't quit. It's just an indicator that you have a lesson to learn to get into a better place, a better direction. It is the first signal of your human GPS to get you to somewhere faster and better. And it's a beautiful thing. I'm not afraid of pain. Right? I don't like it, but I instantly go into learning mode when I see pain. And we talk about entrepreneurs in business. Let me tell you this. just because you haven't failed if you close a business. You know, I have multiple business. My brand has never been bigger. I get make more money, have more opportunity. But Sports One Marketing with Warren Moon is a mass event business, right? It's based on Super Bowl, Pro Bowl, Masters, Kentucky Derby, Breeders' Cup, the ESPYs, Emmys, Oscars. There's not one thing we do that doesn't have a mass gathering component to it. So am I a failure because now I make more money, bigger margins, have more fun with my life, etc., because I'm not throwing parties for charities and corporations at the Super Bowl this year? Does that? No. But as Sports One Marketing as a business, what it set out to do, make money, have fun, and help people in that context, it's impossible to do. Right?
And David used to negotiate contracts with the likes of Jerry Jones and Robert Kraft, right?
We tried to buy the Rams way back when from Georgia Frontiere, one of the first $900 million deals I've ever negotiated. It didn't work out, but with Franklin Financial in 2008, which was so much fun for me because I was on the crux of going bankrupt, negotiating billion-dollar deals with the biggest and most powerful people on earth that were telling me, and Lee, by the way, who was in and out of rehabs, right, and detoxes. Right. It was like the most surrealistic time of my life. They're sitting there telling me how lucky I am and how lucky Lee is that I know so much about finance and negotiation and money and business. And meanwhile, on the back end, I'm going home with the biggest hypocrite in the world, you know, the biggest fraud that I could be, you know, going, oh my God, talk about imposter syndrome. If these guys knew what I'm losing on the back end, nobody would even, they'd be laughing me out of the negotiation.
Yeah, you're incredibly self-aware about yourself. Tell me about, though, that you wrote, I think it was an article in Entrepreneur, like sort of the art of the deal. What are three sort of key touch points you would say about someone who's in the business of selling in terms of how to be a good person as well in that equation?
My gosh. So the biggest misnomer and misfact about that, and it's credibility. People forget about credibility. So what they do, I always say, little lies turn into big doubts, right? And so they risk their entire credibility by overselling, back-end selling, manipulating, lying, and cheating in varying degrees that then allow someone to focus their energy on finding more what they don't want. They're focusing in on what they don't want, the voids, the shortages, the obstacles. But worse, you're losing credibility. If my goal always in a negotiation is to reach as close as I can to integrity, meaning integral within myself, inside myself. Integrity isn't necessarily, to me, honest, because I don't think anyone lives 100% honest ever. I think that's a potential. But integrity is living within yourself, meaning this is who I am. This is what I am. I make mistakes. I sometimes, you know, for good reasons, you know, tell someone their shoes look good or whatever. You know, that's not the truth, but I'm integral to myself. And I think you're 100% credible. I can tell you guys right now, if I was 100% credible, I could say, hey guys, wire me $1 million by Friday. By next Friday, I'll give you 2 million, and you'll find it if I'm 100% credible. So number one is credibility. Most important, you want to get as close as you can to be integral and honest and authentic and credible to yourself. 2, don't discount emotional attachment. People buy on emotion for logical reasons. I just went through my 23rd anniversary yesterday, and I have 3 teenage daughters. You know, talk about buying on emotion. It's like me buying my Ferrari and convincing my wife that I bought a Ferrari when I was in my 30s because it was a good investment. Yeah, right. You know, I got a limited biology. That's my problem, anatomy. You know, talk about illumination, probably TMI for everyone. Sorry. But, you know, I was projecting a lot of insecurity by buying that Ferrari. It wasn't a good investment. And so third, you got credibility, emotional attachment. Then I call it quantitative value. And this is where people really lose it. They go right, number one, to features and benefits in a negotiation, right? Which is such subjective, soft shit. Yeah. Excuse my language. It's a purple dinosaur. I hate to do this to you guys. You probably have seen it before, but I have to do it because Barney, the purple dinosaur, that's the subjective value, the features and benefits, right? I love you. You love me. Nobody makes any money, but we feel really good. What's going on, right? It's like, are you kidding me? Quantitative value, give the 120 rule, really work through the numbers, the time, the resources, the money, all those things that you can say to someone, look, this is a very simple deal. You give me $20, I will give you 100 in return. And here's the math to prove it. I have a vending machine for you. You put the 20 in, you get the 100 out. Can you see any reason you won't want to move forward? Those are the 3 best ways that you can get any negotiation done under the context of Lee Steinberg's best piece of advice. Don't negotiate to the last penny. Always be fair, and don't do business with dicks.
I absolutely love that. And, again, taking notes, and I hope that anyone listening is taking notes as well. It's so interesting. I was actually listening to a Russell Brunson podcast, really, really big fan of what he's doing. He talks a lot about, people make buying decisions based on emotion and logic, and usually sense of urgency. You chat a lot about, offensive and defensive marketing strategies. I'm really curious if you can go into, how those marketing strategies play into getting the deal done. Like, oftentimes we've chatted with tons of different entrepreneurs and business owners and, sales coaches and coaches. And, oftentimes we tell entrepreneurs there's no amount of marketing that can fix a broken sales process. So I'm curious to know, in regards to how these offensive and defensive marketing strategies play into actually getting the deal done.
Yeah. So I sell through people, not to people. And so I'm looking far beyond. I think Steve Jobs was the best person I've ever seen about selling through people. He, from the packaging to the design of the marketing to the product itself, he was selling through people. He wasn't interested in Dave Meltzer using an iPad, or a Mac or EarPods. He was interested in how excited could he get Dave Meltzer, and convinced could he get Dave Meltzer to sell for him, through him, right? That's how good his products were. And, that's the offensive and defensive. The offensive is simply asking the right questions, right? And the questions that you ask have to be originally, when you're selling, open-ended questions. So the offense is actually learning. The offense is saying, what do you do today? What do you like about it? What don't you like about it? It's that simple. What are you doing today? What do you like about it? What don't you like? And then the defensive side is to make it their idea. So for me, it's simply, would it help you if I was able to do this? So if I'm asking you, okay, what do you do today? Oh yeah, our stuff does that as well. What do you like about it? Oh yeah, I like that as well. We either do that or we don't. Oh, you don't like that? Oh, we actually do that as well. Well, would it help you if we were able to do all of those things that you like? Some of the things that you don't like, we're able to do this instead, and we're able to do this. Can you see any reason you won't want to move forward? It's a ninja game of understanding alignment. 80% of my selling is in getting aligned, having go, no-go plans, getting alignment, understanding and asking what value you can provide, and providing that aligned with the capabilities you have. Skills, knowledge, and desire all can be shared in a quantitative manner in order to effectuate the math of a deal. The math of the deal, let's be honest, emotions are great, but that's not going to sell through people. Emotions, motivation, that all dies out. It actually, some fear motivates us, as you were talking about, like Russell, compelling events, urgency. I'm not a big fan of the fear-based compelling event or urgent matter. I am about inspiration, because motivation will get you up, get you back up, get you started, get you restarted. Motivation, or that type of compelling event, will get you to buy, but it's not going to sell through you. Right? It actually won't wear well when the motivation or adrenaline flows off. When you can inspire someone with quantitative value, then you're selling through them. You're able to articulate a straight business deal that, man, I cannot believe the value that I gave and what I received. They're not even in the same league. And that's where you start bragging to people. Hey, have you tried this? You should go and call this. Have you seen this? And that's what I try to do. I set the bar so low on my free Friday trainings. I figure there's no way I can't reach the bar of free. So it's easy for me to ask people, can you see any reason you won't want to come to my free training on Friday to learn the margins of millionaire, how to buy low and sell high?
David, you talk a lot about relationship capital and situational knowledge. Can you break that down and get into the weeds a little bit about what that means and the power of it, if you can channel it properly?
Yeah, so situational knowledge is more on the emotional intelligence side. I come from a hyper academic family, right? I always joked around. They asked me, why did you play college football? You don't have a quantum nature to be a great football player. Well, for me, the bar to be academically inclined, to have that type of intelligence, I could have been summa cum laude at Harvard and not even been in the unique 5 of my family. Like literally my cousins and my own siblings all are that type of academics. But, you know, just the fact I made the college football, I mean, a high school football team put me in the top 1% of my family. Playing in college put me #1 of the thousands of family members that I have. So, you know, I think really important is that fact of situational knowledge is emotional intelligence from the situations that we're in. If you study history, right? I tell people all the time, study history. I love going to law school because it's really studying history about cases. But the most important factor of situational knowledge is human nature. And human nature never changes. So what does situational knowledge mean? It means that either I've experienced this and have my own assessment from the situation that is parallel to this one, or I've read history and this situation parallels, you know, the plagues of this time or this swine flu or whatever it may be. But most importantly, I have the emotional intelligence to see what human nature does when pressed upon in these types of situations. It's extremely valuable because inherently within it, you don't have to pay the dummy tax. You don't have to learn the lessons. You can avoid the pain. And then relationship capital, to me, is the context of everything, because what relationship capital means to me is abundance. It means that I am connected not only to the great source of light, love, and lessons, everything, infinity and limitlessness, knowing that I'm just an instant in there and I shouldn't take myself so seriously, but I should enjoy the consistent, persistent pursuit of my potential. But more importantly, that I'm in this abundant world with the relationship capital, that I am connected not only to that, but to everything. Every person I'm relative to, everything, every material thing, subjective, quantitative thing, I'm connected to everything. And so my job and my best piece of advice is always to be kind, right? Because if I'm finding the light, the love, and the lessons, I'm kind. And to be kind to my future self is the only thing I can do to control my future. As I said, if anyone out there knows what's going to happen tomorrow, please call me. We'll make billions of dollars and share with everyone. But otherwise, be kind. Be kind, and you can control some things in the future. If you're kind to your future self, and guess how you're kind? It's very simple. Do good deeds. That's it. Do good deeds. Put the carts back, pick up the trash, be nice to people, smile, do good deeds. You know, if that's, you know, protecting other people by wearing a mask, that's your gig. Good deeds. Do it. Be a good person and kind. Don't worry about some scarce, you know, world where there's not enough, where you have an ego involved and the need to be separate, inferior, superior, anxious, frustrated, resentful. And I am fearful right now that unfortunately, because of the socioeconomic and political times that we're going through, because of the compressed uncertainty and accelerated changes that are occurring, that people are using fear to separate us when we should be using kindness to unify us.
I love that. You know, we share, like we were chatting about before we hopped on this podcast, that we share the same type of ethos. And it's so interesting because you brought up studying history, and we interview entrepreneurs from across North America, all like, you know, on a weekly basis. And that keeps coming up, you know, the idea of studying history, looking from the past, learning from mistakes that people have made, but even just like studying history. So I'm really curious to know, like, you know, we've really been on this journey of like just reading, and you being an author, like what are like 3 books that were fundamental in changing your perspective or changing just even your life in general? I'm really curious to know 3 books that you've read that have really helped you get to where you are today.
Yeah, 3 different genres. So #1 business book, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. I read it today, every single day, like it's a Bible. I used to joke around when I was young. Every time I read Think and Grow Rich, I would make an extra $1 million. I'm in the movie Think and Grow Rich. I'm in the new Think and Grow Rich, The Legacy. Think and Grow Rich, probably the greatest business book that's changed my life. On intention, The Power of Intention by Dr. Wayne Dyer changed my life and continues. And I listen to Wayne Dyer every day in The Power of Intention to remind myself of the conscious, subconscious, and unconscious continuum of how I can manifest what I want. And truly the clearest message from Wayne Dyer of anyone that I've read in order to understand. I think Think and Grow Rich is the law of Goya, you know, how to get off your ass. Power of Intention is the law of attraction, how it combines with the law of Goya. And then overall, in a perspective book, and this is a deep book, this is like Kierkegaard type of stuff, existential stuff. But A Course in Miracles is the most, I think, involved text. I read it every day. I get a lesson from it every single day and a story from it every day. I have read it for now almost 4 years. It'll be 4 years in January. It took me over 2.5 years to read it every day and not miss a day, but it unravels itself. I eventually will get to a point where I understand I am, 2 words that hold the most meaning. But for today, I'm expanding and growing and accelerating, utilizing those 3 texts every single day, and they will change your life. I guarantee it.
Beautiful, beautiful. David, I have to, we got to finish up soon, but mindful of your time. What your Instagram strategy, your social media strategy? I love your Instagram account. I love the kindness, the empathy, the advice, the life hacks you give there. What is your strategy there? And that feels very much like just you, authentic David. But give us a little bit of your, the backstory.
I think for me, the backstory is I was asked to help AJ and Gary Vaynerchuk with their sports agency at the Super Bowl, 3.5 years ago. And my team was wise enough to say, do not charge those guys. Ask those guys to help you build your brand digitally. You got a great brand traditionally, and I wrote traditional books. I spoke to big companies. I was an executive coach, as a traditional older, one of the oldest guys considering the social media. So a lot of what I do is taught by Gary. But the one lesson in the strategy beyond being myself, and not trying to please everybody. So 1, get a strong signal. So the way that you get a strong signal is something that I still haven't fully grasped, that Gary pushes me every day for, is until you're posting enough content to piss off the people that like you and love you and hate you and don't like you, until you're annoying the crap out of them, you're not even at the minimum of what you should post. So, there's just too big of a spectrum. And so the second piece of advice in my strategy is spectrum. Like, do not try to please everybody. Don't talk to everybody. Like, I have certain gifts. I have certain skills and knowledge. Luckily I have a broad spectrum, broader than most people, because I'm older and have had highest level experiences in the internet and raising money, with phones, with the sports agency, with marketing and media and TV shows. There's a lot that I've done in 52 years, but I still speak to about this much of a spectrum. Remember this, the pimple popper lady has way more engaged followers than most people on earth. So you don't need to go that far. You know your spectrum. And then finally, one of the things I'm really proud of with my strategy is just like sports for me. And Tony Gwynn was my mentor and hero at a young age. And I think that hand-eye coordination, Tony Gwynn held a quantum memory or a potential that most people will never understand. How well he could hit a baseball, shoot a basketball. Most people don't know he was guard at San Diego State with Michael Cage. They made the tournament. He was obviously one of the best hitters, if not the best hitter of all time. Last hitter to bat 394. But he practiced every single day. Every single day. So for me, my strategy is to get better and clearer at my message, because it's not what I say, it's what they hear. And if I have a strong signal and know my spectrum and have a clear message, my exponential growth and acceleration, which is occurring, to have ambassadors. Gary, I'll finish with this. Gary asked me how many followers I wanted in year 1 when he was helping me. And I said, I want 2 ambassadors. He goes, oh, I'm not familiar with that platform. What's an ambassador? I said, oh, well, it's in my realm of, just traditional business. I want 2 people every single year to tell people, you got to listen to Dave Meltzer. You got to read his books. You got to, get on his podcast, whatever it is. I need 2 people every year to tell 2 people, like Noah's Ark. And he said, really? He said, why? I said, well, because I'm 50 years old this year, Gary. It was right after I turned 50 in January. I said, you realize that if I get 2 people to tell 2 people, that my audience will double every single year. So when I'm 70 years old, I will have 2 million people, ambassadors, telling 2 million people every year. And when I'm 71, it'll be 4 million telling. And I said, that's more than I ever dreamed of. That's the impact in the world that I could have to create a collective consciousness of happiness. I'm patient. I'm old. I get it. 20 years to me is nothing. If you're 20, it's a lot. When you're 52, I get it. I'll let it compound in interest. I'll take the Warren Buffett approach to my ambassadorship, and I'll allow my audience to grow. And the key to it is when you detach your emotions from an outcome like that, my audience is growing at a much quicker pace than just 2 by 2 by 2, which I feel very blessed about.
David, thank you so much for your time. We're going to wrap up here, and just just so appreciative, like so much insight. We share the same type of ethos on life. Like, we've been listening to you over the last little while, and we're just super appreciative. Like, if somebody were to want to find out more about you, where's the best place to reach you? Or if, specifically with your Friday training, where's the best place to find that? If you just give us a little bit high level overview on the best place to reach you if we want to find you.
You guys are awesome. I appreciate that opportunity. So it's just David Meltzer, at David Meltzer. I give my email to everyone, David@DMeltzer. And I also have a text community just like Gary. So if you want to join that, it's 949-298-2905. All of those places you can join my free trainings, get my guide, my exercises, my books, all for free. I'm looking to empower over 1 billion people. I'm looking for 1,000 people like you guys that I know in my lifetime will empower another 1,000 to empower another 1,000 to be happy. Do the math, 1,000 times 1,000, 1,000,000 times 1,000, 1 billion. We all can change the world, create happiness, the greatest disease of all time, strengthen ourselves mentally, physically, spiritually, financially, and even protect us against other viruses because it'll strengthen your immune system. Let's spread happiness and kindness. Be kind to your future self and do good deeds.
David, thank you so much. Thank you, Neil. Thank you for your contribution to just humans. We really appreciate it. And thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Studio PTBO podcast. We're ever so grateful. Like we mentioned at the top of the hour, we are on a mission to help passionate, energetic entrepreneurs with marketing and mindset knowledge to help them build, grow, and scale their business online. Hope you got a ton of value out today. Really appreciate your attention. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Studio PTBO podcast. We will see you soon.